Hey, good morning, church. This is Mark Beauclair, and I have the pleasure of bringing you today's devotional. We'll be in Psalm chapter 141. In this psalm, we see, as with a lot of David's psalms that he's written, that he's coming to God and he's asking him for protection, and also he's asking him for help. But in this one, he's also asking God to work on him. So let's start with verse 1 and verse 2. Lord, I cry out to you. Make haste to me, give ear to my voice. When I cry out to you, let my prayer be set before you as incense, the lifting up of my hands as the evening sacrifice. So we see that David, he's coming to God and he's saying, hey, Lord, I need you. Make haste to me. Come quickly. Give ear to my voice. He's saying, Lord, I need you to hear my prayer and also answer my prayer. But also in verse 2, it says, it talks about incense. And in the Old Testament, incense was a picture of prayer, because whenever you light incense, it fills the room. So he's saying, God, let my prayers be ever before you, so that you hear them. And also he says, lifting up my hands. He's saying, Lord, I'm not in the temple. I'm not in the tabernacle where I can give you a lamb. But Lord, all I have is my hand, so that is what I'm going to give to you as my sacrifice. Let's go to verse 3 and verse 4, which says, set a guard, O Lord, over my mouth. Keep watch over the door of my lips. Do not incline my heart to anything evil, to practice wicked works with men who work iniquity, and do not let me eat of their delicacies. So we see David's heart right here. So what he's asking, he's saying, God, set a guard over my mouth. And I want to ask us the question, how often do we pray for that? Because that is something that we really, really need to pray for, because James chapter 3 verse 6 says, the tongue is a fire, set on fire by hell. So when we think about that, think about when we're attacked by somebody, the natural response that we normally have is we're like, I'm going to get them back. I'm going to stoop to their level. I'm going to return a like for a like. But what he's saying, God, guard my mouth. Don't let me say anything that would be hurtful, that would be stooping to anybody's level, because the fact of the matter is that God told us, he said, don't retaliate, because he said, vengeance is mine. And that's where David is coming from there. He's saying, don't let me retaliate with bad words. Don't let me even look at the things that they have. Don't let me be tempted to any evil thing, to practice the wicked works that they're doing, or to look at what they have and think that it's good so that I can start acting like them. So that's what he's talking about. In verse 5, it says, let the righteous strike me. It shall be a kindness, and let him rebuke me. It shall be as excellent. It shall be as excellent oil. Let my head not refuse it. So what he's talking about right here, David already knew the history of Israel. So he knew everything that happened whenever Israel got hard-hearted, or they got stubborn or hard-headed against God. What usually happened was God would bring in their neighboring enemies and he would afflict them. He would do something to where they would do bad things to them and it would humble them. So David is saying, God, don't have to resort to this, to doing any kind of discipline to open my mind and my heart. He's saying, if it's somebody that's going to check me, let it be another godly man. Let it be another godly brother, because I know he's going to come to me and he's going to tell me truth and love. He's going to tell me what I need to hear, and he's not just going to come and he's not just going to bash me over the head with bad talk or beat me down. So he's saying, no, let it be a brother, a godly brother that comes before me and talks to me. And also he says, let me be willing to accept the correction that this man or this godly brother is telling me. So he says, for still my prayers against the wicked deeds, the deeds of the wicked. Verse 6 and verse 7 says, their judges are overthrown by the sides of the cliff, and they hear my words, for they are sweet. Our bones are scattered at the mouth of the grave. as when one plows and breaks up the earth. So he's saying, Lord, I'm going through this. And now we get to verse 8 through 9. But my eyes are upon you, O God, the Lord. In you I take refuge. Do not leave my soul destitute. Keep me from the snares they have laid for me, and from the traps of the workers of iniquity. So when we see in verse 8, when it says, but, this is him saying in the Hebrew, yet. So he's shifting his focus. He's changing it. He's saying, okay, my focus needs to be on God. So I need to keep my eyes focused upon him, because he already knew from experience that God would take care of him. All of the situations he had been in, God was the one that was fighting for him. He was the one that was, whenever anybody tried to do something to him, God was the one that took care of him. And verse 10 says, let the wicked fall into their own nets while I escape safely. This is something that we all need to be doing. We need to go to God quickly. We need to fall on our knees instead of complaining for hours and days, and go to him and trust that the Lord will take care of it. So I just pray that this helped all of you out today, and I just pray that it was a blessing. Thank you.